Yeah. That's it. That's it. I have gotten one too many dumb comments on this stupid Reddit thread. Mast is now a drama YouTuber. My video goes up before weekends, maybe. I don't know. I checked earlier to see if he'd put up a video up yet. It's got to be coming, right? It's got to be coming. There's been this dumbass post on the front page of r/Smite. It's got too many upvotes for how dumb it is. I think most of these upvotes are people agreeing that Smite 2 is in an awkward state and agreeing with some of the things in here, which is true. But this guy's crazy cope that it's somehow SPL and content creators' fault is actually insane. We're doing a mass drama post. It's actually happening. And it's really not that much drama because it's just me calling some rando a dumbass and some other randos a dumbass. And it's not beef with content creators or anything like that. If anything, it'd be the opposite. Also, this isn't even because I don't have a video today. I just recorded a video today. I was going to record this earlier and I was like, maybe I should be better than that. And then I kept getting dumbass comments while I went to record Smite. So there's already a Smite video recorded for what's now going to be tomorrow that I already recorded today. So I'm not even being lazy. I just got to talk my shit, man. Maui started it yesterday. This guy gets it today, and some other people. I don't care that much. I think it's kind of fun. I love talking shit, man. These people keep typing dumbass shit to me. If people don't type dumbass shit, I won't say anything back. I won't talk shit back. I will always be nice to people if they don't give me a reason otherwise. I will always give people shit if they give me a reason to give them shit. And there's been a lot of reason to give a few people shit over the past couple of days. So, yeah, if you guys have missed this or whatever, we're going to do a little r/Smite talkie. I'm going to drink some coffee. But the influence from content creators has made Smite 2 worse. First off, I, for one, am loving Smite 2. Pretty much everything feels better and plays better, except for some of the changes that seem to have been made for content creators / SPL players. Let's get to it. In the last few videos of Smite, sorry, I'm getting the YouTube brain, man. In the last few years of Smite 1, SPL players and content creators have been advocating for changes that would allow players with greater skill to showcase their abilities. That is literally true. That is fact. From what I can tell, much of this stems from complaints about losing kills due to Aegis and beads where ultimates land but are ineffective because relics are used. So far, this is okay. There also have been frustrations with wards revealing enemy positions before ganks can be executed. As a result, successful ganks rely on players being out of position, and even then, those players might escape if their relics are up. These frustrations led to a push to remove wards and relics altogether. What? No, it is not, man. What sort of crazy shit is he concocted in his head? What is this? This is actually wild. Let's remove wards and relics altogether. Do you guys remember the Fineokay video? Where he was like, hey guys, what if we remove the basic elements of Smite and we make the game bad? Do you remember the Weekend video or the Mast video or the Incon video? Where like, hey guys, let's get rid of wards. Fuck wards. Am I right? Let's get rid of beads. Let's get rid of blink. Let's get rid of Aegis. Let's get rid of all this shit. Because clearly if I'm a skilled player and I'm smart and I'm better than you, then the last thing I would want is more tools to express that skill, which is exactly what this guy talked about in the beginning of his dumbass post, and then immediately went to say this because he literally doesn't understand what he's saying. So stupid, man. And if he's not calling people out, and I'm not even the one called out because I haven't even been playing Smite 2, but it's still fucking stupid. I still feel bad for Fineokay and for Weak3n and Inbound, who he specifically named. He specifically named Weak3n and Inbound, but like heavily implied. I don't think he said Fineokay, but heavily implied Fineokay in the post and in comments because Fineokay was a big direction of combat blink. And others, he said. So, like, bro, why are we taking shit for things that Hi-Rez has done, which you are saying is based on us wanting to express skill, when it makes us express less skill? The more relics, the more wards, the more tools that high-level players have and content creators have. For content creators, we get more fun, we get more interesting things, we get more interesting content when we get more tools. That's such a heavy part of my channel because I love to cheese. I love to try and create tools out of fucking thin air. I'll find some dog shit and try and do something with it. And then, of course, when we have those tools for competitive play, for just higher level ranked play where we're trying to be good, then that's just another thing for skill expression. So having 2 relics in Smite 1 is more skill expression, which we enjoy more. Having good wards is more skill expression, which competitive players enjoy more. I know this is ironic coming from the guy that never wards. I don't have a problem with wards. I like to play the game for fun. warding is inherently just kind of a sweatier thing to do to take the game more seriously. So especially when we're not queuing ranked, I'm not going to ward much, but I don't think it's actually dumb. I think they're good. I don't think they should be nerfed from Smite 1. I think they're great. I think Raven wards are sick. I think sentries are good. I think 3-minute wards is fine. I used to play when there were like 3 wards you could have on the map at a time and not just 2 from one person. I thought that was fine. I thought it was like, wait, they're taking it from 3 to 2. That's kind of lame. Back in the day, that was like season 5 or some shit where they did that. So this is crazy cope. I don't know where the hell this is coming from. Now on to Smite 2. Initially, this push resulted in players being given only one 30-second ward. Now, to be fair, it's true. Players were only given one 30-second ward. What is not true is that content creators and pro players were like, guys, people be warding way too much. Let's give them some absolute dog shit. This was just wards basically were not going to exist yet. The game was incredibly early in development. Hi-Rez had not implemented a lot of systems, and one of the systems that was very partially but not fully developed was warding. I don't know why. I think this was stupid on their part. I think there have been multiple things throughout Smite 2's development, which is like, what the fuck are you guys doing? Just put this in. It can't be that hard. We already have wards. Just let us buy the wards. This was not a push from players. I can say I'm not really supposed to talk about stuff, but this should be fine to talk about. There is literally like a Discord between Hi-Rez and like content creators and pro players and stuff. Like nobody was saying this shit, man. So like this is actually just straight up cope. I can say that. So later this evolved into the current system of 2-minute wards that can be purchased. There might be something here. I don't know if I've missed out on drama. I know Inbound made a video. I know Weekn just made a video reacting to the Inbound video. I have not watched either. I don't know if there were ones that I missed recently in the past. But for one thing, being able to buy wards like normal compared to Smite 1 and then having them be a 2-minute timer compared to a 3-minute timer is not like a mind-blowing, game-changing thing. Obviously, it's literally a nerf and it's a decent nerf. But this guy is going to proceed to say that it like completely changes the game as we know it, which is wild. And I still have to assume that this isn't why this happened. I am assuming. I could be out of the loop. But yeah. Also, an important thing to keep in mind is the map in Smite 2, which again does not have anything to do with content creators, inherently has a worse environment for warding than the map in Smite 1, and is probably the worst environment for warding than we have had in an incredibly long time. I do not know if we will have that map come Smite 2 full release, but in general, I think plenty of people can agree that the Smite 2 map, the way it's designed in terms of like jungle layout, stuff like that, is really just kind of not great. It's got kind of a cool vibe to it in certain spots and stuff, but it's kind of a mess, and so that's inherently harder to ward because you have all these different little paths all over the place. So you're getting less concrete warding spots compared to Smite 1. Anyways, additionally, players now only have access to one relic, but this has led to more skill-based. Has this led to more skill-based gameplay for content creators? No shit, man. We didn't say give us one relic. You can watch complaint videos from creators like Weekn, Inbound, and others, where they now suggest further changes in an attempt to fix the very problems they helped create. We didn't create. We don't want this. Oh my God, man. How come not anytime, but so often anything happens in Smite, people just try and like make it content creators' fault because we're like the face of the community. And it's like, bro, so often this shit, like Hi-Rez just does what Hi-Rez wants to do, man. There are so many things that do get pitched by content creators that get at least largely ignored. It's not that Hi-Rez doesn't listen to us or anything, but so often like they're gonna do what they're doing. We really only, like we have a pretty small voice. You guys remember when I made a massive serious video that I spent an entire week creating kits for, where it's like, here are straight up kit reworks for every single god already in Smite 2. And you could put this in the game and it'd be really cool and it'd spice Smite 2 up. Because we keep having these gods that are getting ported over almost in their exact game state, and that's even more true now compared to when I made that video. I put that whole video up. As far as I'm aware, literally 0 of those changes have been put in the game, even though there are plenty of those changes that like a ton of people would be like, wait, this would be really cool. So like Hi-Rez didn't give a shit. And that was a specific, like incredibly specific video where they easily could have taken like some influence. It'd be super obvious they took influence. They did take influence in terms of putting combat blink in the game. They did also take influence from me when I shit all over crowd control duration. We actually just got something today that's been officially acknowledged by Hi-Rez, where they're like putting in CC buffering. Like it's on the front page of the Smite Reddit right now. I don't know where it got announced from. They're putting in CC buffering, which is to help with crowd control being less strong or making crowd control less strong so that basically when you're channeling the beginning of certain animations, which actually would have been relevant to the video I recorded today with Kumbhakarna, because Kumbha 3's got a long animation that you can cast abilities through CC as long as you were casting the ability before you're CC'd. And I'm sure that'll vary based on the context of the ability. I don't know exactly how that's going to work. Like, I don't know if you freeze Sobek pluck mid pluck or something like that, or some sort of ability, how often, or like Athena dash is probably the best one. Can you now not freeze Athena mid dash? I don't know. But the big thing is going to be like, if you're Athena taunting an Emir freeze, that basically Athena taunt is quick and it should go off immediately pretty much, but Emir freeze is slow and a lot of time would get interrupted. And I believe now Emir freeze would hit her back and they would kind of just trade CCs, which should be healthy for the Emir and feel better. And then already specifically because of my CC complaints, I've gotten CC nerfed in Smite 2, which is great because Smite 1 CC is big dumb and we needed it extra because they didn't want to port beads over in current bead state. Like, they've effectively nerfed the viability of beads, Aegis. I was going to say Blink. Blink is just straight up different with Combat Blink, but like they've nerfed the consistency of relics compared to Smite 1 because you're only getting one of them now compared to 2. So like it became especially important. CC was already dumb in Smite 1, but it became especially important to nerf it in Smite 2. I feel like I was a big voice in lowering that. But like, we're going to ignore that, right? And we're just going to make shit up to blame on people instead. Things that like actually have nothing to do with content creators. Let's ignore the good and make up the bad. Seems to be the vibe of this. So anyways, what this was relating to was, has this led to more skill-based gameplay from having one relic? No, which is true, and which is what we don't want. What people do want is more interesting relics that are more viable, because for a long time, I don't even think this is a content creator thing. I think this is a competitive thing, like an SPL thing, and then Weak3n naturally as a content creator who is also an ex-pro is going to be a voice for this. Same with Inbound. It does make sense for this, where people complain about Beads Aegis being the meta on basically 3 out of 5 rolls so often, or at least like 2.5 out of 5 rolls, where it's just simply build these relics. The reason for that is not exactly that Beads or Aegis, like I think most people can agree Beads is just kind of important and decently fun to play around. I just like Beads. Aegis is boring, but definitely can be very important in certain situations against stuff like Kraken, Scylla ult, Scylla 1-2 combo, stuff like that, really big bursts that you're just simply gonna eat, that you're not gonna be able to get out of, at least on so many characters in so many situations. But the thing is, you so often are like basically forced meta-wise into either Beads Blink or Beads Aegis is a squishy. Beads Blink typically referring to a jungler, Beads Aegis referring to ADC and middle laner. Like, there's not really debate for that. That's pretty much just, you should build those relics as those roles in almost every situation, in almost any meta. That is what you're going to do. And that's so boring because, of course, like support solo lane, you're getting more viable relic options. Oftentimes teleport is meta, which is pretty boring if it's too meta. But like, those roles can start getting those team fight active relics in, where you can get Horrific, you can get Shell, you can get Meditation, you can get Divine Barrier if it's not complete ass, you can get Sprint, you can get, there's probably more that you can get Thorns, you can, there are all of these different relics that you can get. And of course, I'm referring to Smite 1 with these. There aren't as many relics in Smite 2, but that's interesting. That's interesting that you can consider different relics for different games and make plays around those. And especially where it stood out in recent history over the past few years is for support, where not only are you getting a variety of relics on that support role, but you're often upgrading them early for even more variety, because you're getting 2 variety upgrades where it's like, oh, well, recently you were getting 2 variety upgrades. It's not quite the case anymore in Smite 1. Where like Shell, you could get the extra auto attack focus Shell for the full rank upgrade, where you're getting a lot of mitigation against autos, or you could get the Phantom Shell, where you're getting through a wall. And then like Horrific, you could get like extra slow Horrific, or Horrific's a terrible example because I don't even remember what the second one did because it was so ass. Meditation, you could get knockback med, you could get the extra heal med with cooldown. Like, you're getting all these different options to go into, and that's really fun. But the problem is the squishy rolls basically don't get it, because generally speaking, for a long time, it didn't used to be this way early in Smite, but for a long time, Smite relics are, let's see, like 5 selfish relics. A lot of them you are not going to mix together, other than that Beads Blink, Beads Aegis are going to go together. And then like 5 entire straight up support type relics, and that you're not really getting those in-betweens where it feels good to get a mixture of relics on those squishy rolls. And instead you're just sticking with that Beads Aegis or Beads Blink. Like, it's going to just be worse in so many scenarios to go Shell instead of Aegis on a squishy, because Aegis is just too important. And there's not a selfish shell, for example, that is single target and stronger than shell so that you can aggressively mitigate damage, so that you can simply take less temporarily, but actually continue to play the game and be aggro. That would be very fun. There was a specific state in Season 9 of Smite, I'm pretty sure it was Season 9, it was Season 8 or Season 9, where Aegis broke. I don't know what the hell Hi-Rez did. They broke Aegis for like a month. Maybe it was only 2 weeks. It was 2 weeks or a month. And it was bugged as hell. And with that bug, they banned Aegis from SPL. I think they also temporarily just straight up removed it from the game at some point. But mostly they banned it from SPL. And because it was banned from SPL, all of a sudden Squishy Rolls were building Beads Shell. And it was so much more fun to watch because in so many spots, you're getting more aggressive trades rather than immune the big ability and dip type of trades. Rather than, we're eating a Kraken, we're eating some big combo, I press the Aegis button, I go into my team, I walk away. Instead, you're trading aggressively and you're looking to min-max the damage you can take back and forth by using that shell as a buffer and then being forced to continue to trade because you're still going to be eating damage through that shell if it's actually bursty enough that it would otherwise warrant an Aegis. Now, of course, I'm not saying remove Aegis, but I'm saying it literally like SPL players were like, wait, this is actually fun as fuck. I wish we could go back. It was more fun to watch as a viewer. You can't argue that. You're the insane cope if you're arguing that because it was just more active in SPL. There was just more fighting. It was more interesting. So what would be great is if instead we had seen, let's try adding a single target shell along with the AoE shell, and you could buy either one. And that way that single target shell could be stronger, you could be more aggressive with it, it could be a fun selfish relic, and it'd be a great alternative to Aegis, while Aegis would still be great for the more extremes like Poseidon Kraken, Scylla ult, something like that. You could leave it in the game. SPL players probably wouldn't care to leave it in the game, but like naturally for the lower level Smite players that are going to need it more as a crutch, I think that's fine. And then the SPL players who can play more around that skill expression can have the fun shell to play around in so many scenarios. And then similarly, going way back in Smite 1, we could have single target sprint, which was so much fun back in the day. This is like Season 1, Season 2. I don't remember when they made it AoE, but at least Season 1, Season 2, we had single target sprint. This is back when you had to buy relics and you could upgrade relics. Sprint on its own made you very fast for a decent chunk of time, like a very extreme wing shard. I don't think it increased attack speed. I don't remember for sure. I'm pretty sure it was just move speed. But then you could upgrade it for pretty cheap and you could get literal haste along with a speed boost. And it was like a 60-second cooldown and you just had a go button on ADC. It was so much fun. And I'm not saying bring it back in that state. It'd probably be OP as hell. It was OP at the time. Now that people are better, it'll probably be even more broken. But doing something like that where you have aggressive single target plays that you can make around these like actual skill expression relics that you could add to the game. That's what people want. We don't want one relic. We want better relics. And if that means adding more options, that's fine. If that means changing some of the relics so that they can focus more on actual skill expression, that would be fine. But like, that's the big thing, man. There's just so much they could do. They don't cook enough. That's why we keep having videos from me and Fineokay and stuff where like, hey guys, if you cooked with this, that'd be cool. Here are direct ideas for what you could do. And then we got to just hope that they actually take them. Because only some of the time they do. I think Combat Blink's really fun, and a lot of people agree with that. So anyways, that's a lot of stuff, and I think we only got to like here. So, issues with the current state of Smite 2. The removal of vision has eliminated the mid-game. Without adequate vision, there's no longer a meaningful laning phase after the early game. Instead of creating opportunities for skilled players to execute ganks, the lack of vision has discouraged individual play entirely. Okay, this doesn't make sense. This is something where if you want to argue that as ADC, without warding as much, which really it is not a big hit to wards, but without warding as much, you are now going to be more punished by ganks. That's fair. If you want to say that like as a solo laner, as an ADC, as a middle laner, you are getting fewer opportunities for 1v1 plays because it's too scary because you could get ganked, because wards have been nerfed. That totally makes sense. Somehow, yet again, this guy is making the exact opposite point and managing to get upvotes, which is wild. Which is instead of creating opportunities for skilled players to execute ganks, which implies that rotating on somebody that does not have wards, that's somehow harder. No, that like, bro, what are we talking? Of course it's easier to gank when they don't have wards. So I don't know what he's saying here. Like, I think there's a valid point with wards should be good, because I think wards should be good and they should be like they are in Smite 1. But like, again, this is literally the opposite way of saying, like, what is bro yapping about? By mid-game, no one does anything alone. The result is a game where everyone moves in small groups or full 5-man squads. Any player foolish enough to roam solo is quickly 4-man ganked and learns not to repeat the same mistake. This isn't a meta, it's a reality enforced by the absence of vision. Now we're seeing yet more suggestions on how to fix the game when the solution is glaringly obvious. So again, I don't really like words. I think can just completely stay the same state as Smite 1. But like it's crazy cope to be like content creators made this happen. Also, somehow words going from 3-minute timer to 2-minute timer completely changes the game as we know it. And it couldn't possibly be that we literally have a new map, new items, new meta balance, all sorts of stuff like that. On a new Smite 2 game with bad matchmaking, right? Like this, there are a lot of other issues to go after first rather than words not quite lasting long enough. And what's really funny is the idea that like high level players are what are forcing this, when high level players are the ones who ward consistently, man. The people who ward consistently at lower levels, like you get some variety, but a lot of the time the people who ward consistently at lower levels also don't use those words well. They just do it because they've been like told and they know in the back of their head that they should ward. The people who actually effectively use words are pretty exclusively high level players or like mid-level players that are really paying attention and trying hard. The vast majority of people that are not getting value out of words are, I feel like, for one thing, this guy, and then like, you know, other people that are not as good at the game. So like, it makes no sense to be saying that like pros would be like, hey, let's get rid of words. It's like, what? Words become specifically the most relevant in pro play. What are we talking about? So solution, bring back 3-minute words. Stop listening to the content creators who didn't tell you to do this. Yeah, I feel like we're kind of repeating ourselves at this point here, saying who primarily makes suggestions based on how they can secure more kills for themselves. I mean, that's not too wrong. That's not too wrong. Content creators do love securing more kills for themselves. Hey, that's pretty based. I get it. But again, we come back to that skill expression thing, where like content creators get to play the game better if we have better words. So like, I don't personally ward a lot just because I think it's more fun to not ward because it spices the game up more for myself. But it's literally me nerfing myself for fun and I'm aware of it. So that's pretty different. Most people word quite a bit. Fineokay and Weak3n, they word quite a bit. So yeah, this doesn't make any sense. Nobody enjoys being repeatedly destroyed due to a lack of vision. I do. So that's a fucking lie. that's a bold-faced lie. No, but in all honesty, like this is obviously true, but like you could still just buy wards and they just don't last as long, so that doesn't really mean much. The absence of adequate warding has pushed the grouping phase to begin far too early, disrupting the natural flow of the game. This is why Smite 2 matches often feel off. Now, I am coming out of left field with this take, but I do think that Smite 2 matches might often feel off because there's like a 2K player base at peak on any given day. I think that generally speaking, in almost any multiplayer game, the lower the player base, the more people complain about matchmaking. And oftentimes when people are complaining about matchmaking a lot, it is specifically because the player base has lowered noticeably compared to what they're used to. And that it stands out a lot in Smite 2 when I have come back and played it a little bit, and I immediately get games where coming back to a game, I am going 20-1 and running into fellow Diamond and Master players that are also going 20-1, but then also getting people on my team that are 1-10, 1-15, something like that. So that clearly we are getting a mix of players that are anywhere from bronze to masters. That's the reason the games feel off, man. That's absolutely like 2-minute wards is literally nothing compared to let's just merge everything together because we don't have enough players. And I'm not even shitting on hires for matchmaking. I don't know what it's like. They might just have to make games like that because the player base is so small. There's nothing, if that's true, there's nothing they can do about it. That just is what it is. That way you at least get games. But yeah, that's going to be a night and day difference compared to words not lasting quite as long. The one relic system is okay, but consider CC overload. While having only one relic is manageable, the sheer amount of crowd control in Smite continues to grow with the addition of new gods. If something isn't done, 2 relics will likely need to return. One potential fix could be making players CC immune for 1 second after being hit by the first instance of CC, or implementing a similar mechanic to reduce the oppressive nature of chaining CC. I don't even need to respond to that because I can read my own comment to respond to it. Let's go down here. Let's get to the shit. Let's get to the shit. So I wrote a comment. I got to this post a few hours late saying, is blaming content creators here just massive cope, or am I out of the loop? As far as I'm aware, these changes have nothing to do with Weekend or Inbound. When the Smite 2 alpha came out before 24/7, this was a few months before 24/7, words were basically non-existent. We essentially had a word chalice, word relic, whatever you want to call it, that was what he referred to early on. But that was just because it was super early access. The one, like, again, they just hadn't properly implemented words yet. We didn't want it. It sucked. It was like, why didn't we just fully implement words, guys? We could buy some words. That'd be cool. Like, nobody pushed for this. Hi-Rez just didn't fully implement it yet. And then he brought it up as an example as if they haven't changed it since. as if they haven't just implemented on their own since. The one relic is Hi-Rez attempting to not overload active keybinds for both PC and console players, with the new active items taking up potentially 3 new keybinds. So basically, Hi-Rez has given us active items. In those active items, we have a variety of things we can do. We can pop a shield, we can pop beads, we can pop basically Aegis with the stasis item, we can pop new turn into a fucking boar, dash around the map, CC immune, knock somebody up type item. Like we've got some mild shit, we've got some crazy shit. Basically, to some degree, you can now buy relics that you did not have in Smite 1 before, or maybe to some degree you did and it's just a little bit different, right? So you have these active items that you can buy, and naturally those active items take up keybinds. And because of that, and because Hi-Rez wants to make sure that the game is not only friendly for less intensive PC players is maybe a way to put it, and then also for console players who are lacking keybinds compared to PC players, in general, Smite is meant to be a fairly noob-friendly MOBA. It is not meant to be as serious as League, as Dota, or anything like that, any of those more hardcore multiplayer games. And so naturally, Hi-Rez wants to limit the amount of keybinds you have to juggle when you're playing the game to make it more noob-friendly. And so, when we are adding 3 new active item slots to go what would be on top of the 2 Smite 1 relics, it makes sense that they want to remove a relic and instead give you those slots. I do agree. I want 2 relics back too. I want Smite 1 relics in Smite 2, and then to do the things I was talking about earlier in the video, where we get some spicier relics to go along with the old Smite 1 relics. I think that would be great. But if Hi-Rez wants to add active items and make sure you can buy plenty of active items, it does make sense from their perspective that they want to try and limit the amount of keybinds. And so that's why we're getting 1 active and then 3 active items, because it'd be kind of weird to only be able to have 2 active items, right? If you had 2 relics, 2 active items. Now, can they just give you 5 keybinds? Can they just give you 2 relics and 3? Yeah, and I think that's what they should do, but I get where they're coming from, where they're not. I think it's the wrong way to go, but that's why they're thinking it. I'm pretty sure I've literally directly talked to somebody about it, but like it just takes thought to figure it out. So like I've thought and I've figured it out, and that's what it is, right? So, yeah, anyways, and that's basically what I said. I'd prefer to get 2 relics back. I think Blink plus Beads and Beads plus Aegis are necessary staples, considering every god is getting ported over in nearly the same state as they are in Smite 1. Now, do keep in mind, I am not saying that we literally need Blink plus Beads and Beads plus Aegis to be the exact same as they were in Smite 1, and that I think it would be healthier for Smite 2 to try and change the game so that they are not so incredibly important for the state of the game to feel balanced. That it would be better for us to be less relic dependent on these specific relics, and that instead we could have changes to god kits, changes to those relics in general, changes to crowd control, and so on, so that it feels less important to press the magic button that gets you out of the specific situation. But that's not happening. So far, the longer we get into Smite 2, the more we just directly port gods over to Smite 2 and we don't make changes to their kits. There already have been some changes to crowd control, but not like mind-boggling changes to crowd control, not like really insane ones. Although this new CC buffering thing they just talked about will be a pretty big deal, it's still not like a complete recreation of crowd control in Smite. It's still overall very strong compared to other games, to other MOBAs. So yeah, like I think we should port this over and we should have 2 relics, because it is so important to have Aegis versus Kraken or Beads versus Fenult that it feels really bad to have only 1 relic taken if you only have this one and you need to make sure you have the right one chosen at any given time for a very long time by that one ability. So yeah, like it'd be great to have 2 relics back. Ideally, the big thing would be we see a bigger shift in Smite 2 so that you don't feel like it being as necessary, oh my god, I need Aegis versus this, and more relevant, oh my god, I need Beads versus this. That you have a lot of god kits where you might have an immunity for Fenrir, so Beads isn't as important, but others you don't, and so you literally need Beads or you get shit on if you Fenrir to you whenever he feels like it. And that just feels so bad. And the big thing here is normally Aegis, and this continues to be true even in specific situations like Kraken, Scylla ult, etc., Aegis is more of a noob crutch. And I think it's totally fine to keep it in the game as a noob crutch. Very oftentimes, high-level players will be able to get away with not having an Aegis because they can just combat blink out and stuff like that. So I will bring that up, but I'm not saying to get rid of it. It's just that is something that you will see actual like pro players and content creators talk about. And that's why they don't like Aegis as much, is because it's such a boring shut down the ability rather than a blink out of the ability type thing. And again, if you had a single target shell type thing that was stronger, then that would maybe be a way to trade through Kraken rather than run away or hide from Kraken with Aegis or Combat Blink. But again, stuff like Fenrir is just dumb. It's just dumb how broken some CCs are. It's really unfun to just have to beads them or die, assuming you don't have CC immunity in your kit to get rid of it. But I do have to say, your final suggestion is legitimately awful. Again, that's 1 second CC immune whenever you get CC'd. It's just an insanely scuffed version of diminishing returns, which we already have in Smite 1, which we partially have in Smite 2. We do have it in Smite 2, but it's less extreme in Smite 2. The slow from Emir 2 wouldn't proc after his 3. So if you 3-2 somebody, Emir freeze would proc, stun them, you'd follow up with the 2 quickly after. They would not be slowed because they'd be CC immune for a second, right? Hades ult would be cleansed on landing. Also, by the way, with this system, you would have, when you're CC immune, that cleanses CCs. So they'd have to re-implement CC immunity entirely for the suggestion. Hades ult would be cleansed on landing, as in you'd eat a CC from Hades, and then the further CC ticks going forward, it would not proc. Like Hunbot's ult, for example, would be a similar thing. It took me 10 seconds to think of these. Also, there's a 90% chance you just got yourself a Weak3n video. Yeah, it hasn't gone up yet. I gotta hope it's coming. I'm gonna be sad if I missed with this one because I thought it was pretty funny. Yeah, normally whenever there's any sort of Smite Reddit post calling out Weak3n, he's gonna make a video on it. I think this one, more than any others, in a way, it's especially fair to make a video on it because it's like, bro, what the fuck did I do? Why am I getting this post? So often they're going to be just something dumb and delusional to begin with, but this one, like, unless I'm completely out of the loop, I legitimately, like, what? I'm pretty sure he literally just randomly decided, like, let's call out Weak3n, because Weak3n is by far the main person still creating content for Smite and Smite 2. I think specifically Smite 2 right now. Like, I have moved on very heavily. Fineokay is fairly in between, even though he's playing professionally right now. Incon has moved on very heavily. So, yeah. But anyways, there was that. Now I want to dive into the shit talk. I want to be diving into some shit talk because I've been getting some dumb comments, and we'll just kind of ignore it. These comments are like, you know, there are plenty of chill comments. I didn't just get people saying dumb shit. Yeah, there's agreement here. I'm here for the drama. Not really. We've already said plenty of things that aren't really drama and are more so me clarifying things because there's some dumb takes up in here. But now we're here for the drama because I don't want to make this video take that much longer, and I think this was funny. So so we got Combat Blink being on Smite 2, or being in Smite 2 in the way it is right now is 100% because of Fineokay's rant on Twitter. He went on to post his deadlock videos on YouTube, and yet all Smite 2 players have to live with his and random irrelevant unemployed SPL players' opinions because they decide how Smite 2 works for some reason. Yeah, this is a take. For one thing, this is toxic as fuck, but the sheer irony of referring to Fineokay and other unemployed SPL players is that, I'm not saying they're unemployed, is referring to them as unemployed when they are specifically playing a LAN tournament in preparation for the full release of Smite 2 that pays out, and then calling them irrelevant for being pro players is a take, and I don't think I need to even say anything more on that. What I did say was, yeah, but Combat Blink is actually fun and has nothing to do with there being only one relic. This is just something Fineokay and very many people in support of Fineokay, whether they were content creators or not, viewers, general people in the Smite community, a lot of people early on in Smite 2 development were like, fuck it, let's cook. It's Smite 2, let's try it out. We had Combat Blink in the past, let's try it again. So yeah, like Combat Blink's actually fun. I think fairly few people are really going to be arguing, especially people that are good at the game, are going to be arguing that Combat Blink is like a bad thing for Smite 2. And again, it's not the reason we have the one relic. Like there's still beads, there's still Aegis. Smite 1 has both at the same time. Smite 2 does not. That has nothing to do with Combat Blink. This guy says, I don't like Combat Blink. Me and the other players that are not being heard by the developers and are not satisfied with Smite 2 would just rather not play. That's obviously what happens when you value content creators more than the actual players. You lose the players. And then I said, oh, well, we'll get to that comment later. The guy who made this post in a different comment literally said he likes Combat Blink. So this guy's trying to group a whole lot of people in with himself right here. And I said, people like you tend to victimize yourselves and completely ignore the group of players who aren't content creators, but also like Combat Blink. And when I say this, I mean, like Combat Blink is specific to the scenario. This is a common thing in real life online. It's fucking stupid. People love to victimize themselves based on their own opinion and ignore other people's opinions. So they like to find something where it can be like, this person is fucking up everything for us, and ignore all the people that support that person's ideas, whether it's based on that person or not. There are so many people that are not going to give two shits about content creators and are going to be like, wait, Combat Blink's fun. So the actual players are a lot more people than you, my guy. And this guy is basically saying that he thinks Combat Blink is fun. And then there are a few more comments that are very recent right here. I think this was the thing that maybe made the videos. This guy kept saying dumb shit. No, maybe it was somebody else. It might have been somebody else. This guy was being weird down here. Yeah, he was commenting on the fact that the influence of Smite creators is making the game worse. And as far as he knows, the player base is dwindling greatly. And I said the very obvious take that of course the player base is dwindling when you have to pay for Smite 2 and Smite 1 is on life support because it's basically getting no dev support. It's not rocket science. And he says that's a lie. Anyone interested can go get a Smite 2 key by watching Smite on Twitch. And yet Twitch viewership is also dwindling. And I said, okay, and anyone who wants to play Smite 1 can just download the game whenever they fucking feel like it and start playing. And it's been that way for 10 plus years. Again, there is a barrier to entry in Smite 2, and it's in early access, and Smite 1 still exists. Of course, the player base is not only divided, but dwindling, because both games are in a weird spot. Smite 2 is not fully released. It's not as polished as people would like. There's a barrier to entry. Smite 1 is not actively getting development updates particularly. There's like very occasional, very mild balance patches that for the most part, people don't really give a shit about. And just generally, while people wait for Smite 2, people are less interested in Smite 1. They're like, let's move on and do other things. Let's play some other games. And then he said, what's my point? And then a lot of people are dissatisfied. And I'm like, bro, I'm not arguing that they're not dissatisfied. I'm saying it makes sense why they're dissatisfied. And it's not fucking content creators' faults. And I said, what are you arguing? And that's funny. While I've been recording this, he posted this. So I got to read this fresh. No one wants to play Smite 2 because Smite 2 is making changes people do not like. This guy is arguing with himself, man. He's countering his own points because useless content creators and their stupid communities are pressuring the weak-ass dev team into making these stupid changes. It's been a year of Smite 2, quotation marks, alpha. I am looking forward to the day the F2P switch comes and the flop is obvious so that the stupid, it's an alpha, ceases to be. Of course, that is 100% the fault of the weak developers that have no vision and look to Twitter and Reddit for opinions. Bro, I don't have to read. No way, they come to Twitter and Reddit, but we don't run Twitter, or at the very least, we don't run Reddit. And then you're on Reddit and you're saying your take should be credited more than ours. Bro, like, think, man. Don't be fucking stupid, big dumb. So dumb. So fucking dumb. Let's go read some more dumb. It's always funny to read dumb. All right, this is the OP. That's, oh my God, I used Reddit speak. What has happened to me? This is the guy that made the post down here. That's why his name's Lou. So this one was really funny. I thought this comment was so funny, man. So Combat Blink is another great example of the influence of creators, which is actually true. I genuinely think if Fineokay didn't push hard for Combat Blink, I don't think we would have had it. I was playing Pred, and I don't think I had even chimed in anything about Combat Blink until Fineokay said stuff, and I just kind of pushed with Fineokay, and he very much led the charge. And yeah, and that's because Fineokay had played Pred, and I think he thought it was especially fun. He really enjoyed it in Pred. I enjoyed it in Pred, but I was still, I don't know, I didn't care too much either way. But I thought it was I thought it was cool to cook, so I was like, fuck it, let's add it. And that he really wanted to try it out. So there's a big push led by Fineokay and others when the game came out to have Combat Blink added. The devs went ahead and added it. That is true. That is specifically the thing you can actually attribute to content creators. That, honestly, I think I deserve mad respect for the CC shit. I think that was me. I don't even remember what I made about it, but it came pretty quickly after. I was like, fuck yeah, that was me. I personally love Combat Blink. Then why are you complaining, little bro? What are we doing? What do you mean? And this guy is like, content creators are ruining the game, but oh my God, it is so fun to play with Combat Blink. What? What? What is this? Why do I have to read this? I shouldn't be responding to any of these, but it's too funny. I used to buy it in regular Blink for extra trollage in Smite 1. Could you do this? Weren't these a 2 upgrade system? I don't remember for sure. In my head, this was a 2 upgrade system where I think you could get AoE sprint, personal sprint. You could get low cooldown, high movement speed blink, where it'd be like 45-second cooldown. You could blink really far. You get a move speed boost right after your blink. This is back in like season 2 or something. Or you could upgrade into Combat Blink. I don't think you could do both. I could be misremembering. But anyways, but a lot of gods are balanced on having 0 escapes. Anubis and Zeus were slow into a fight and slow to get out. Now they have an escape and they're overperforming and being nerfed into the ground. Fineokay played a game of Paragon and immediately made immobile gods OP. Okay, so we went back and forth because this guy just can't get the point through his head. When you give everybody in the game a relic, generally speaking, everybody in the game can benefit from that relic's value. There are certain kits that do get more value, but generally speaking, a relic is not going to be fucking broken because of it working a certain way on certain kits. And if it did, it would be more niche and less generally usable. So with this, Combat Blink is extremely good on a lot of different characters. Lots of people can use it to get in. Lots of people can use it to get out. You can be a high mobility jungler. You can be a low mobility mid. You can get value out of Combat Blink. Now, who is using Combat Blink very effectively to go in? Not Anubis and not Zeus. They can use it effectively to get out. You know who can use it effectively to chase? Literally anybody that is trying to lock down an immobile god like Anubis or Zeus. It can be used in a variety of ways. It does the same thing on both characters. It is true that certain gods will get a little more benefit out of it, but you can just do it back. You can just do it back to them and still chase them down. Do you maybe have to chase them in a tower? Yeah. And that's specifically why it's potentially going to be stronger for them, is they can fall back a little harder. But you know, it's also really strong on Anubis and Zeus compared to other gods. Aegis, beads, because it's easier to CC them, because it's easier to dump damage on them because they have no mobility. They also use other defensive relics really well, and they specifically don't use Combat Blink really well offensively the way that some people do. This is a dumbass take. And then I specifically said, oh yeah, I personally love Combat Blink in reference to what he said. Bro, the specific change that we actually did make happen is fun and you agree with it. So why the hell are you complaining like this and not acknowledging that? And there is no world where Zeus of all gods is somehow OP because of Combat Blink. And then he basically reiterated his point, which is just incorrect, which is gods like Anubis and Zeus used to be easy kills if you focus them. You could prevent them from steamrolling pretty easily. This part is true. Suddenly these gods were not high risk anymore. What's the point of arguing if you can't even admit that? Combat Blink is an incredibly long cooldown. Plenty of people will have it to chase out that Combat Blink. So assuming they are not Combat Blinking into tower in like 4 minutes, you can chase them down for a dive. If it's diveable enough, you can just chase them through the jungle and lose literally no movement because you blink the same distance on them. Like they're not like inherently insanely safe all the time. It's a long cooldown and you can do it back. So yeah, right? Like it's pretty easy to do that. So I said, because it's literally not true, it goes both ways, saying all the things that I have specifically been saying so far, and that Blink's on a very long cooldown. And he said, I don't believe that you actually think that immobile gods are not benefited by receiving a Blink, but it is possible that you are completely inept. Either way, it shows why your opinion should be ignored. And then this was somebody else replying with just common sense that you do know that Blink is a 4-minute cooldown and blah, blah, blah. You know, just normal stuff that like I've basically already been saying as well, right? And he's just agreeing. So I said, let's compare accounts, lil bro. If you're God's gift to Smite, LMFAO. Because this dude keeps just saying shit like he is fucking incredible, like he is genius, like he's DM Brandon in his brain, man. Now, okay, I probably shouldn't have like said all this. I'm not saying this guy is DM Brandon. I am saying ego-wise, this is crazy shit that DM used to do, where he's acting like he's fucking God with his knowledge. It's so stupid, where it's like, bro, what are your credentials? What are your credentials to be saying this shit? And I'm not saying that I'm God, but it's pretty easy to assume, based on this guy's game knowledge, that at absolute maximum, and I think I say it somewhere down here, he is platinum. He is a plat player. And this is not me shitting on plat players, but obviously it is delusional to assume as a plat player that you know more than the grandmaster professional players that you are saying are coming up with these dumbass changes. Right? That's very obvious. So, to sum up, push for Combat Blink as a more fun escape and initiate. When it's pointed out that this helps immobile gods like Anubis, I don't know why you put a question like a question mark. Well, actually, it doesn't add mobility if everyone has it. When asked how is it that immobile gods aren't helped by suddenly being mobile, 1v1 me, bro? Question mark. Sad. Now, I'm saying let's prove some credentials, and that's what I said here. My guy, you are getting downvoted off of cooldown because you seem to think that your take is inherently correct, and you've provided absolutely zero credentials for us to take your thoughts seriously. I'm saying if you want to link your account, maybe you can show that you're not a delusional gold player. Based on your takes, I have to assume that you're plat at best, but you seem to think that you understand the game state more than the Grandmasters players. You are not the main character. I love this shit, man. I love this shit. It's so funny. It's so rare. At least you don't get to see the breakthroughs. I have to assume it's so rare that you get a breakthrough with somebody over this stuff. I think it is so funny to come back at people when they say delusional shit online, because it's actually wild how often people will come up with these like very confirmed solid opinions about like the game state, whatever it is they're referring to, while having like zero reason to assume they know more than the actual professionals. And I am not referring to myself here as the professional, because again, he actually specifically said pro players in the top, not only content creators, but pro players, and then clearly referenced the content creators that were/are pro players, because Weak3n and Inbound were, Fineokay actively is, and then pro players themselves in general. So yeah, like that's some insane delusion. Let's see, what else do we have here? This guy got downvoted. This guy just kind of liked the dumb idea. That's fine. That's okay. He's innocent with it. I still think the idea is bad, but like that's okay. Nothing negative there. The one relic choice is devs attempting to not overload keybinds, referring to me saying that. So they gave players 4 things to press instead of the 2 we had in Smite 1? That's not mathing, bro. So I said, I'm saying that 4 active keys is fewer than 5. I fixed the math for you, bro. We've got 2 relics and then we add 3 active items, or we've got 1 relic and we add 3 active items. When it's 1 relic, that number goes down because we took out 1. I didn't say that. That's just the math. So obviously 4 is less than 5, but your statement makes reference to new active items without respect to 4 or 5, basically implying you really expected me to figure it out on my own and not type a dumbass comment to you, and then to not get upset afterwards because you were condescending back to my dumbass condescending comment, is basically what he said. Technically he said it comes across as compared to Smite 1, but go ahead and be condescending. That's all right. LMAO, it's only condescending when you're on the receiving end, huh? Plus you were wrong and condescending at the same time, which is just offensive. Which I think is incredibly true, man. And actually, one of the things that bugs me most in life is when people try and act like they know more than they do. They talk down to you and then they're fucking wrong, and they're blatantly wrong. And clearly we can say that he's blatantly wrong when he just didn't understand the math that I was saying. When he just didn't understand it at all, and then just gets butthurt when I literally said his own thing back to him. So funny, man. So funny. Let's see. Do we have any other juice up in here? This is going to be the new comment that we already read. We got any other juice? All. Let's check that inbox. I think we read them all. Sorry, I don't have dark mode. I'm sorry. I don't like Reddit enough for you guys or something. It's all bright. Some people are going to scream. I think we got everything, because the only things I skipped over were just general positive comments from people that weren't stupid. Yeah, I think we're good. So, so yeah, mass drama video. Oh my God, we've got mass drama. We've got crazy mass drama. I don't know. I basically thought it would be fun to make this video. Generally speaking, we are not going to have videos like this. If anything, we will have videos like we've had in the past that are more critiquing the state of Smite, and we did partially do that in this video, but I thought this was too funny just because I got too many. I was too amused, man. I've missed this with Smite, where in game I get to have people do some shit and then I get to push back at them, because it's kind of, for some reason, it feels like a unique thing to Smite to me. I don't get this in Deadlock. I really don't. So, and then I don't really play other multiplayer games, and if I did, I don't think there'd be games where this would be a thing either, really. So it's so fun to poke back at people over this shit, and yeah, why not? When we're gonna get this many shit of people getting really salty at me for me just trying to explain how things work, then then we can hit them back, and then they get madder, and then I keep doing it, and then they get more and more mad, and it keeps going, and then we make a video out of it, and then some people won't like the video because they'll think it's toxic, and some people think it's really funny. So I don't care if you think it's toxic, because it's honestly not. You need to be able to. You should never have such a weak ego to let people just push you over for shit. When they're literally wrong and it's like dumb. You should never do that. I'm not saying you should always combat people, but like I think it's an increasingly common thing for people to feel like it's toxic to just push back. And that's all we're doing is pushing back. I'm not starting shit for no reason at all. We're just pushing back, and I think that's perfectly healthy. And in a lot of situations, I think it's perfectly funny. But thank you guys for watching. Hopefully you all enjoyed the video. I recorded a Kumba video today. You guys will be seeing it tomorrow. And I will see you all in the next one.
I've been seeking for the glory. Say my name. And I've been trying to write my own story in the search for fame. I'm sitting here in this empty room. Walls keep tumbling down.